Hi all, today we're taking a quick look at the HTC Wildfire here at PhoneArena. The phone is a budget Android phone from the company. Its biggest sacrifice in order to keep the price low, it's unfortunately the screen, which is a pity because it's an all touchscreen phone and it's 3.2 inch, not that small, but the resolution is appalling. It's 240 by 320 pixels. Which leads to a very low pixel density. Unfortunately, the individual pixel count suffers very much, and the screen is run by a 528 megahertz Qualcomm CPU, which is not that great by today's standards. The familiar Sense user interface is on top of Android 2.1 here. It will be interesting to see how it will behave on a fairly mid-range, even lower mid-range device. If we forget about these specifications for a second though, we see that the design of the device is actually pretty interesting. It feels very solid in the hand, although it's not heavy by any means. It's chromed all around, the volume rocker here, the lock, unlock and power button on the top. There's a standard audio jack on the top as well. Everything is chromed and looks nice. The back has this soft touch coating, which is usually reserved for high-end handsets, but HTC decided to place it on the Wildfire as well. There's this metallic band that runs across the phone on the back, which is the same color as the screen bezel. The color we have here on this review unit is the same as the HTC Desire actually, so it makes it resemble the Desire very much, although it strays away from the usual tall and narrow touchscreen only handsets lately. It's a bit wider, which makes it almost squarish in looks, and basically disproportionate, which makes the design pretty interesting. The ear speaker grill on the top looks like a BMW grill actually, if it was a little bit wider. HTC has put their optical trackpad underneath the screen, the 4 capacitive touch Android buttons, which are easy to press, backlit in white underneath it as well. The phone has a 5 megapixel camera with LED flash, which, as you can see here, is almost like a periscope over the back panel, which we can imagine will lead to scratches for sure, but all kinds of worse stuff can happen. That's not a very good design decision. The micro USB port for charging it on the left side we can see here, and there's this curve on the bottom, which is also a very good design choice, makes it a very easy to hold and press buttons phone. Of course, the most interesting thing here is how the Sense user interface and the other applications will behave on 3.2 inch screen at such resolution and coupled to a fairly slow processor. So let's have a look at the user interface on the HTC Wildfire. You see how everything looks a bit stretched. It's not only because of the phone's proportions, but because of the low pixel density on the 3.2 inch screen, and the icon edges look jagged as well. Otherwise the experience is pretty smooth, and it's absolutely the same as in the HTC Legend or HTC Desire, so we're not gonna be reviewing it much, but it has the helicopter view we find in both handsets as well. It doesn't have live wallpapers because the hardware combination of the screen and the processor doesn't allow it. Actually, our biggest complaint with the screen and the processor is in the browser. Heavy pages load well and quickly, they render properly, but when you try to scroll, the experience is actually pretty choppy. You see how many frames it skips because the page is heavy with a lot of pictures. When you double tap to zoom, the experience becomes much more fluid and much more typical to a capacitive touchscreen Android phone. No complaints here. pinch to zoom works well. It's just that when you zoom out of the page, then scrolling becomes a pretty choppy experience. Typing on the HTC Wildfire is a fairly smooth experience. I mean, it's not the fastest of keyboard in terms of lag because of the hardware probably, and also the accelerometer is pretty slow to turn the orientation from portrait to QWERTY, but all in all the experience is pretty smooth. Something that's different in terms of interface from the HTC Legend and HTC Desire here is the camera interface. Here's the menu. On account of the fact that you have to pull this pin here always to switch from camera mode to video mode and vice versa, which is not really comfortable. The camera also doesn't have preset scene modes, although it has a lot of effects that can be added to the pictures. And you can use touch focus on anywhere on the screen or automatic focus. And the optical trackpad is used as a shutter button. In the end, we're forced to say that there's nothing fiery or wild about the HTC Wildfire, especially in terms of specifications. It feels pretty underpowered on occasions, like in the browser scrolling heavy pages is not a smooth experience, for example. But it has a very interesting design, pretty solid build quality we've come to expect from HTC handsets. On top of that, it has a good battery life and it's fairly inexpensive. So if you're in the market for a budget Android handset to start you off with the platform, then the HTC Wildfire is a very good choice. This was a video review of the HTC Wildfire from PhoneArena.